Why not?
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
The only station that matters.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning!
The future. He came from the future. And so do I.
But you said that he wasn't human, that he was some other kind of being.
Another world and another time.
Your papers, please.
After he's stalked, we must get rid of him immediately.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you too, everyone. Thank you, all of you. All of my excellent specimens for this experiment. Experiment in life, this adventure in life. Happiness. It's all about happiness. Can't you see that? You are the master of your own destiny. I watched this site yesterday. I watched a show. I watched a YouTube video of somebody that I'd never seen before, who's apparently been doing it for a while. Her name was Gigi Young. She's pretty interesting. I recommend you check her out. I wonder if she has a website. Let's give it a little spin. You want to go on a ride with me? Let's see. Display capture. Let's see if Gigi Young has a website or if she's just a YouTuber. Gigi Young, Intuition Development. Toggle. Mystic in the Moon. Yeah, that's her. She's an interesting person. Let's see what about her story is. Attractive fashion model on contract in Japan awoke out of deep meditation to a part of herself she thought impossible and dedicated herself to exploring and documenting her journey into the celestial origins. I guess that's kind of like what happened with me. And it seems she has courses, but and I recommend you checking her out, but she has a bunch of videos. You need to be enrolled for her videos, but you can check her out on YouTube. Check her out, Gigi. Of course, I like this picture better right there. That's just the me and me. So, Gigi Young, something to check out. Another person, another YouTuber, but who has a website, which just puts more pressure on me. I really have to get my websites in order. By the way, 20% off on Valentine's Day if you want to get You Don't Know What You Don't Know, or Everything You Know Is Wrong, or Game Over on a T-shirt, or the ROCKFLUX logo. Get it on a sticker or a bag, or get a sticker, put it on your car. But anyway, the title of this show is Happiness. And I was having a talk with someone on the phone. Back is bothering me. Hope I'm not going backwards. It's been about 60 days since I've been on this, I guess, I don't know, you would call it diet. But I mean this eating healthy, high fiber, low fat, low sugar, no processed, or as little as possible processed food, unless it's somehow snuck into something I'm buying. Diet in order to, basically cleanse the liver, but it wasn't so much the liver the problem, but somehow to, clear out the gallbladder problem, because I don't want gallbladder surgery. Don't worry, it's not about that. This is about happiness, okay? This is about happiness. In fact, it's not even...
Really funny. Really funny.
It's uplifting,
Okay.
You know, happiness. You know, I want you to be happy. I don't want fake happy, you know. I don't want like you know, that sounds about, you know, as real as what's going on out in the real world right now. IRL, right? No, I'm talking about happiness like this woman, you know, just out in the road, and you know, it's a beautiful day and the colors of the sky, and she's barefoot in this free flowing thing, and who knows what news she got or why, and well, does she really need to get news? It's like that, like I told you, it's like, you know, lately I've been waking up and I've trying to be happiness, trying to be happy. I mean, feeling happy, more or less. I'm trying to translate it, you know, into cat language, but you know, the cat just wants to like lick you or something. It's like these animals. I don't want to be licked. You're a living stuffed animal. You're supposed to get hugged like a stuffed animal. Otherwise, I'm going to have to, where is the thing? It's here somewhere. There it is. You don't know what you don't know. The real fluffy bear that we had for sale for a while, but I think they ran out of them because of the supply chain issue. There's my set. The camera, I think, is fixed. I have a new camera coming, and we'll see we'll see if that's any better. But that's going to be a camera I'm going to be using for just adding another level of security. And you know, yesterday I was talking about the nose thing, and obviously I washed the white handkerchief yesterday, did laundry. And that issue did clear up like I figured. Because I eat this super healthy food. I guess one day I should do a day in the life. I started that one time filming. Like I started the part like me in the morning, like shaving, that part. So that's the difficult part because that was hard to get a camera and a tripod set up in my cramped, bathroom. So that's the hard part. So I have some other footage around, but what I want to do, but I might have to wait till the spring, till the weather gets nice, so I can show you the backyard, because that's really a big part of my life. Unless I did a day in the life part 1, which actually it's going to rain. By the way, You're listening to Tony Caravan Live. This part of the show, sometimes we just talk. It's just you're coming into my space and joining me in my little daily adventure. So we'll just deal with those kinds of things. It's 28 degrees outside here in Tony Caravan land. And there's going to be thunderstorms predicted for Saturday now. I don't know. They're saying it's going to be like 52 degrees on Friday. Which I can't imagine that not being the day that there would be thunderstorms, because it seems usually when you have like a cold front, meet hot air, warm air, there's usually some sort of, thing that happens in the atmosphere. Meteorologists will tell you that kind of thing. But then it's going to dip down to 39, and then progressively Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're back down into the 20s and 30s, and overnights are in the teens. So Saturday's the day. So maybe I'll take you upstairs when it's raining, or if it does, whether it's tonight, later today, or tomorrow. Maybe I'll take the tripod up to the attic and have it and let you see me siphon the water out of these collection things. I don't know. Happiness, right? How could you be happy with something like that happening? Well, as I was telling, and I began in the early part of this show, I was saying that, one way of converting these ridiculous things that you have to deal with, all right, and we all do have ridiculous things we have to deal with, and that just not so much as a task or as something that gets you stressed out, but just as a project, maybe, or just a thing to do in life, a part of your life. In other words, yeah, just a thing to do. Think of it that way, a thing to do. Instead of, oh no, the water's dripping down into the second floor. What am I mean, the drip, 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 drip in the middle of the night can be, similar to some torture by some, some alphabet agency or some foreign government, spies. But at the same time, your project, should you decide to accept, is to solve that problem, be a problem solver. And in effect, it's the zen, get into the zen of repairing it. Do you see how that truck seems to be almost like we couldn't see the top of it? Let's bring this down a tad and see if, I'm sorry, it just seems day after day I just keep wasting more and more time trying to figure this stuff out. But we'll get there. The new camera, then I'm going to reposition and have it in such a way that it's the idea. There is an important, it's 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 11th of February. I'm no longer putting the times on these particular videos, but just for posterity's sake, I'll mention it within the video for your sake. I don't know, maybe it's a reason, maybe that's another reason people don't watch them. I have been thinking about taking the word "the morning show" off because that may be confusing to people. Like maybe it should have just said happiness. And if this thing truly weren't being, shadow banned or whatever by YouTube, maybe that would appeal to more people. I don't know. But I've invested in the concept of happiness. Happiness. Yeah, I'm invested in happiness. But I've invested in, personally invested, not so much financially invested. But, I do have the morning show. We have, not that anyone seems to care, but I don't know. Last year when the show started this used to be my morning coffee mug, the morning show with Tony C, and we had shirts and stuff, and I have like a travel mug, all that kind of stuff. By the way, back there, well, I don't know, being an old advertising man, an ad man, madman, creative director, it's, in other words, I put time into branding. And it's like you don't want to throw away that, the efforts that went into branding. And so there's our set, So you put time into something and you tend to, it becomes a part of something. But maybe we'll change this set this spring too. Needs to be lively up, like that, reggae tune. Lively up yourself. Change can be a good thing. Oh, no! Yes, yes. Anyway, so happiness. Happiness. What is happiness? You know, is happiness the root of all the problems we have today? And this might be a turnoff for some people because it seems people don't want to talk about love, happiness, right? It's like certain people in the military, don't want to talk about peace, right? Certainly the military contractors don't want to talk about peace, right? Unless they're naming a missile and calling it a peacemaker, right? I mean, I don't even go down that road. But it is the root of the problem with our society right now. Is I don't think people are genuinely happy. I think they're frustrated with mandates and all that kind of stuff, and that's the things you're seeing, all around you, and like that are the obsessions with the media coverage of all these things, of all these people who seem to be obsessed with all this kind of stuff, right? But those are just obsessions, and those are just like people trying to control and manipulate you. Like I say, forget about the news and people who like talk about the news. It's just content in between the commercials. The news has become a means, for people to make millions of dollars. Well, it's always been that way, kind of. Though, many moons ago, the news departments were usually free of, and we're talking 50 years ago. The news departments were like untouchable, and the editors of the news departments didn't have to answer, to any of the commercial interests. I mean, there were commercials on the news, but in other words, the news was free. Excuse me. It had a budget, an operating budget, and that was that. And the same with papers. It was like the news, the front page news, the main stories were, the editors, weren't pressured about those, for the most part. But anything below the major stories, they were. Because I could remember, because I came up through the ranks in the publishing business, and you always put the ads in the layout of the paper first, and then you would have to edit stories down. And the way you would write a story, I don't think the journalists today have that, because they have that craft that you were able, the person doing the paste up was able to cut out, like the part of the last paragraph. In other words, the last two paragraphs might have been almost just repetitive or fluff or expounding on something that was really not crucial to the article. If something had to be cut, sliced off in the old paste up days, excuse me, in order for an advertisement to fit properly on that page. It's funny how people don't know how things work. And people don't even think about the idea that news programs are no different than entertainment programs. And that they're produced, like people just don't. They think there's somebody like me just sitting there at a desk, not so much in a dark room, but sitting at a desk and just reading a news or, whatever. But it's not like that. They're surrounded by all these staff, production people, stuff on teleprompters, things people talking in their ear. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, enough of that. That's all a charade. It's all a game. It's all, it's like what I say every day. It's hypocrisy for profit, and there's nothing we can do about it. And the media and the politicians are just marionettes of the corporate interests, right? Okay. We know that. You hear it every day. Anybody who's watched this show, recently in the past several months have seen those slides many times. But they haven't seen this slide of this woman, this happiness. And while I've talked about this a few times on several occasions, having done 365 consecutive shows last year, today I want to dedicate the entire show to it, assuming I don't deviate and get off on too many tangents, as I often do. If you're happy, when you're happy, petty things, annoyances, minor annoyances, even, I guess you could say, major annoyances, don't seem to bother you that much, because you're happy. And that's the goal. And it's amazing, not to get in, again, it's so hard to keep politics out of it, but it's not necessarily politics, but like the founding fathers of the U.S., the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Which I'm sure many people, when they hear that and they see that as a part of a document, right? A foundation of a government, like a basis for forming a government or acting in a certain way. The word happiness. But in effect, it's what sets or had set, this country apart from so many others, was that word happiness. And I just don't think that we deal with that enough. Like and we certainly don't deal with, if you were to, if they were at a news conference, or if you were to confront your politician, your representative, whomever it is, and somehow bring happiness into some kind of question to them, like when they're talking about a thing they're going to do, and you would say, someone says, well, we're doing this and we're going to do that, and your comeback, like a reporter's comeback, would be, how is this going to improve the happiness of your constituents? How is this going to make us happier people, right? How is it going to make this community a happier place to live in, right? And of course, that comes down to quality of life, too. And when I say quality of life, I don't mean materialistic things with so-called creature comforts. It's like, money can buy you happiness for a brief period of time. I mean, you can't, because, some people, money can't buy you happiness. Well, yeah, money can buy you happiness if if somehow you happened upon, this massive chunk of money, you could surround yourself with a lot of materialistic, luxurious items, or do some kind of thing that you couldn't do before. But after it's over, it's like after the vacation, to Disneyland, which is ridiculously, talk about inflation. But after that's all over, then you come back and it's still you, and you're up in the morning and you're staring at yourself in the mirror, brushing your teeth or washing your face, doing whatever you do, putting on your makeup. And it's you you're staring back at yourself. And the question is, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Are you happy? Do you see a happy person? Is your life happy? Well, I've often criticized the founding fathers for the same phrase, because it was life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I haven't read into like how that word pursuit was put in there, and if that was just naturally in the original phrase, or if someone like insisted upon it. Because I don't like the idea of the pursuit of happiness. See? You know, this woman is happy, or appears to be, as far as we know. It's a beautiful day, right? And she seems happy. So life should not be a pursuit of happiness, let alone an endless pursuit of happiness the way it is for so many people. And I think that's why there's so much scapegoating going on right now around everywhere. This eye, the one I'm winking, weird. It needs an eye drop. The only problem is the eye drops are way upstairs, and I'm not about to do that. It's like it was like tearing a little bit or something. Sometimes that happens in the morning, and I kind of wiped it with a piece of tissue or something, and I think I like kind of just like scratched or something, irritated it. I have these things called TheraTears. I'm not sponsored by them, obviously. I'm not sponsored by anybody. But an eye doctor once told me about them years ago and said they were the most, he recommended them as the best eye drops for, they're kind of like super tears, you know, because tears serve a purpose to basically stop that irritation. Eventually my tears will deal with it, but it just takes longer. A quick eye drop would just solve the problem. All right. I told you we'd be on these little asides. But think about it. You know, the anger that you see out there. You know, my book over there on the bookshelf says Then What, which I also have. Well, it's also on the shirt, you know, up here in the corner on that woman. And, you know, that's my response. Like a lot of people don't, that's the puzzling shirt. Everything you know is wrong is like fairly easy to figure out, you know. Game over. Yeah. Well, because it is kind of, though I don't want to get into that downer. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, that's profound. Let's face it. All right. But then what? The question, big question mark. And the whole idea of that is the answer to everyone who, and every group that is out there protesting, complaining, and, you know, just getting crazy about something. You know, I swear this chair has fallen down again. I do have one more of these ridiculous cardboard things that I can do. But yeah, I definitely have. It defies logic that it has fallen. Let's see here. Yeah. It fell a couple. I know. I knew. It fell like an inch or two. It's ridiculous. I'm out of, and I think I'm pretty much out of Gorilla Tape. Wasn't in my budget for this month. I spent the past couple days basically getting all of my provisions that I need within this house for food and, you know, and various other functions. The only thing I may need, I may run out of coffee in a couple of weeks, or a week or two. And maybe something else. But I think I left myself a little bit of padding for the month that I could take care of that. But the idea of then what, to get back to that. So, you know, they're out there with this, holding this, well, or fist in the air, but holding a stick with a little cardboard sign on it about some protesting something, or they're on some talk show, right? It's like my head is become like this round ball because I was wearing this hat. But it's comfortable with wearing these headphones because my ears were getting like, pressed in, because some of these shows last long, and it's like, oh. But they'll go on a talk show, and like I said before, I said this yesterday, and it's worth repeating. It's like, instead of new media, as we used to call this medium, new media, right? Because, the idea was this was to replace networks and cable TV. They had become outdated, right? And even Microsoft itself in the 90s had a thing called Web TV, which I was on. I actually had a channel on Web TV. Like I was an early adopter of every technology. I was one of the first people on Facebook when it first came out. I mean, whatever it was, I was into it, because I was like I came right at as tech and the code, for the internet was developing. I was like right on the same trajectory as they were. Meaning all of us, not they. I was one of them. And so it was called new media. And it was pretty much commonly, just assumed. Of course, you never assume. But it was just, it was a common belief among everyone that new media was going to replace old media, and old media was television and cable TV. There was no longer a need for it anymore. And we were going to have this internet, right? And this total freedom and all of these voices heard, right? Not like right now, zero. Well, I'm looking at my analytics off to the side, and there are 0 viewers. I'm broadcasting this live. And when it's all said and done, who knows? At one point yesterday, 8 people viewed the show afterwards. I don't know what it was up to overnight. But, these pitiful numbers. But the idea, there's 2 billion active users on YouTube right now. Active users that they know of. Internal corporate statistics. So, but it didn't happen because old media had power, and they freaked out. So when like Real Audio bought Time Warner, like when new media companies started to buy up these old media companies, they freaked out. And they fought back. And that happened right around a .com crash, which one could question that no one really did a real big investigation into that. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Some of you may think You may say stocks were overvalued and this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. But, you could say, they were so many times over earnings, et cetera, et cetera. But just look at the stock market today. The overvalue of stocks, it makes what happened in 2000 look like, nothing, right? So that's not what happened. What happened was you had old media saying we're not going down because we've set up this control system, this manipulation system, this system to control human beings, and we can't let it go away. So you think about TV. See, I use my television set right? And I have a Fire TV thing plugged into it. That's like the Amazon Fire Stick type of thing, whatever you want to call it these days. I bought, like I say, I'm an early adopter of everything. So I have one of the original Apple TV hockey puck type set-top boxes. I have a Google Chrome or a Google Chromecast, widget thing, dongle, I believe they might call them. I have and I have another one. I have a Cloud TV set-top box. I may even have something else, I'm not even thinking of, because I've got like 1, 2, 3. I've got like four different TVs, none of them of use. But I mainly watch YouTube using the YouTube app on my TV. And so when web TV came out in the 90s, and I had a channel on there, for example, and some other people did, the idea was that to take television and to allow it to become, I guess you would say, truly democratized, I guess, in a sense. Because but the idea was that this channel, my ROCKFLUX channel, which is a channel on YouTube, which is unfortunately stuck inside of, only available through YouTube, and therefore only available through an app, within a set-top box or a dongle or what they call a smart TV app. This should have just, the concept of web TV was that it just was. And so it was websites, it was this, it was everything. And if you imagine if from the 90s, that would have been, it was halted. The project died. And, again, it's one of those things that you can hear stories, by people saying, well, it just wasn't financially feasible, blah, blah. That's never stopped any technology in the past. In other words, if you really want something to happen, it's an investment, and it takes time for a thing, right? No, it was not. It was blocked. It was basically put down because they saw that was the key. That was one of the tools that new media could have used to take over old media, to basically just end old media completely. Because what would happen is old media would have to compete then with new media on the same playing field by the same set of rules. But that's not what's happening. And I know I'm drifting off to happiness a little bit. I warned you, there would probably be some kind of aside, but this is all related.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
So what I'm getting at is new media versus old media could have brought in, ushered in a world where this woman, in this photo over here, that kind of happiness and that kind of world would have been seen by the year 2022. Because we're talking about over 25 years ago, all right, is when the media machine, the traditional old media, clamped down, right? Because they knew they couldn't compete on an even playing field, right? And they didn't want to. Maybe that's another reason why I keep the name Morning Show. They didn't want me to be competing with some other morning show on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, or something else. Even if I were only going to steal a handful of, viewers. But the fact that there would be a million of me's right, out there, all getting a handful, dozen, or maybe several hundred or a few thousand. Because if new media was allowed to develop, see, back at that time, I was webcasting, and I was getting anywhere from 20,000 to 100,000 listeners on my webcasts through new media. So, by now I would at least be in the millions. So they knew they couldn't compete on an even playing field with people with people who would just be truth tellers. And that's when terms of service and all this clampdown and censorship and all that stuff was brought in. And I think that's one of the elements that led to a lot of unhappiness among a certain group of people. And that would have been a group of people like me, would have been like frustrated and unhappy. Saying, you've taken away my livelihood. It's not fun anymore. This is like you're destroying something. We had this thing. Life was beautiful. It was great to just wake up every day and to have this thing to do and this camaraderie, this companionship, this community, this internet community, right, that we had. And the greed monsters, came in and they basically said, no, we're megalomaniacs. We're narcissistic sociopaths. We need the power and the control. These evil forces, the archons, the demiurge. You've heard me speak those words before. Now, I'm not saying I'm unhappy because, like I say, I'm finding happiness in all sorts of ways, right? And that's the idea of this show, and I hope I can, by the time it's over, I can impart that with you, impart that to you. The idea that you are the master of your own destiny. And that no one can tell you, no one can make you happy or take away. Well, I guess the word "make" isn't the proper word, but I mean, no one's in charge of your happiness. Obviously, human beings, other human beings, the natural world, can make us happy and can be a part of our happiness. But no controller is what I'm saying. No evil force, right? And these are evil forces. Someone who has some selfish goal in mind, right? Excuse me, and I know these guys want to laugh at me.
Really funny. Really funny.
It really wasn't a belch. It was just like an internal breath of something. But I mean, I know that there's this whole idea of that I talk about, this hypocrisy, right? And, and these marionettes, of the corporatocracy, that, the influence there is great. And it's hard to resist. And the whole idea of money and materialism in our society is really, it's like, it's gone way over the top, But like I was saying before, you have to find a way. And I write about it in my books. I even put a page where I always tell people, if you get my book, then what? You get the print version so you can actually use it. There's a sheet there's 2 sheets in there that I think are crucial. One is a budget sheet where you could basically see how much money you're spending, living on, and see the absurdity of how much money you actually are spending and what you're spending it on. And another page is a page that's just pretty much a line drawn down the center, and one side are things that you like and things that you dislike, or things that make you happy and things that make you unhappy. But it's the idea of this visual exercise, not just mental. Because, you can't hold everything in your brain, and sometimes that's why you'll find most scientists, the whole concept of the chalkboard, the whiteboard, whatever you want to call it, it's that idea of we need to visualize things sometimes in order to really see things in perspective, or really see the absurdity, or be able to stand back and look and see it. I mean, in all facets of life, and, particularly in business, more so than just life in general, people use various types of, wall charts or projections, even if you're using things like presentations, like a PowerPoint presentation in front of people, so that we can see it in perspective and see all the elements, side by side, and in other words, to grasp it, and you have to do that. What makes you happy, what makes you unhappy. And too many people are just caught up in this world of where they're unhappy and they really don't know why. Or they really don't know they're unhappy. It's like that thing I played before. It's like there's difference here in a sound bite. Okay, listen to this. Okay, it sounds like maybe they're happy, maybe something's funny, but doesn't it sound a little like it's pushed? It's like, Now listen to this.
Really funny. Really funny.
You see what I mean? It's totally different. The second, they are happy, right? I mean, it's funny, it's happy. They're they're ready to fall on the floor, stitching their side, laughing. Whereas the first group is like, are we supposed to laugh at this? It's canned laughter, they used to call it, right? In old TV shows. And I look around at a lot of people and I see a lot of forced smiles and a lot of canned laughter. It's almost like they're pretending they're happy. Oh, I'm happy. It would be like someone saying, I'm happy. What do you mean I'm not happy? I'm happy. No. You don't have to say you're happy. Happiness shows. Happiness just shows. It shines. If you want to think in terms like people who talk about auras or whatever, shine, it just glows. You just glow when you're happy. All right? It's so obvious. It's it's not even a question, right? If you've suddenly something happened to you, or you've had a very happy, fulfilling experience, and you have a good friend or something, they'll just look at you and say, they'll know, they'll say, so tell me the story, right? Because they know something happened that that just glow about you, right? And that's why when I was talking about the pursuit of happiness, is to me, I think that life today, too many people get caught up in pursuing happiness. And that's why I have, and then I have "then what" on that shirt. It's on that hoodie, shirt, whatever you want. You can get it on anything. I'm not selling things here. I'm trying to explain. See, my whole purpose in doing this, I'm not monetized, right? Okay, so I don't make any money on this. This is kind of, I haven't read the entire, Law of One. And people who are on YouTube kind of know what that is. But there's one of the basics of that I do understand is service to others as opposed to service to self. Okay? And I have found that my life has improved and I have been a happier person, generally speaking, the more I am of service to others as opposed to service to self. And if I read the law of one right, which again is something that, I'm neither telling you that, I believe to be, the official, law or not. I'm just saying it, it exists. It's like Thoth, right? And the emerald tablets and that kind of stuff. It's like there's this wisdom that's been imparted to us down through the ages. And some of it, you can take it with a grain of salt, but nonetheless, it exists. You see? It's no different than someone reading a religious book or some scroll or some, some clay tablet or something that they found. It's the idea that someone thought to impart this knowledge, share this with you. Whether or not that is of any meaning or consequence in your life, or whether you can relate to it or not, isn't the point. The idea is that these things exist. And there are people out there, and I'm one of them. I've written 10 books. And they're by no means great, masterful books. And I've designed these shirts and stuff. And I've made them available through this, like, third-party thing. It's not like I make money. If somebody buys one, I don't know. I might make 50 cents or something. You know what I mean? It's not like some big money-making venture. My goal was the same with this thing, which is, since this makes zero money, wasn't money. I didn't do 365 shows consecutively last year. I did it for service to others, to share my ideas, to have conversations. And you say, well, there's nobody watching you. What kind of conversation? It's a conversation with myself. It's a conversation with my consciousness, my mind. It's a conversation with all that there is out there. We're all part of some sort of, one consciousness, ultimately, that may be broken down hierarchically, whatever, I'm not even going to try to repronounce that. Into groups of, maybe consciousness groups, so that, or we may have our consciousness itself may exist simultaneously, on several planes of existence, in certain dimensions, densities, what have you. There are certain things that are unknowable, and we have to accept that. There are at this point of existence that there are these things that are unknowable. This chair is so uncomfortable you cannot imagine. But the then what idea is a way of, and the shirt idea, everything you know is wrong, you don't know what you don't know, game over, that kind of thing. Forget the resist thing. Resist just means resist the temptation of getting caught up in media and politics and stuff. That's what that means. I almost should put that under that in small print so people understand that, because it's confusing. I guess it is confusing to people, So, we'll call it resist 2. I'm going to just do this now. But you understand what I'm talking about. I think you do. I don't think I have to get crazy about it. I'm picking a font if you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm looking for a condensed font. All right. Resist. Media and politicians and media and politics. Maybe. Let's see. And that's that way here. And so obviously that didn't work out the way I wanted to. So select font. There. Maybe that makes more sense. So, so it doesn't sound like I'm into some kind of weird thing. And I'm just trying to get comfortable. Sorry. If this show were some profitable thing, well, I still may do it. I have to make, there was some other note I wanted to make of a thing I have to water my plants. But the other thing was to, now I forgot the main reason I picked up the piece of paper. And it wasn't a fixed chair. What was I thinking about? Well, we'll leave it there in case it comes to me. The idea of the then what is, so people are protesting about something, or they're saying, he said, she said. That guy called me a name. Or, she's done this. They're doing that. They're not doing this, right? So we need to pass a law, or we have to go get them, or we have to do this, or whatever. Response, blah, blah, blah. Build back better, save America, great reset. And what then what is saying, then what? Then what? Euphoria, utopia, nirvana. You see? They haven't thought that through. In other words, there's this obsession with mandating, forcing people, do this, do that, or we all have to. But the idea is then what? Vote for me and I'll set you free. Well, what do you mean set me free? Then what? Right? Then what do I do? What are you going to take me off of this, out of this slum? Where I live? What are you going to do about inflation? The price of everything's doubled and stuff like that. See? And so what I tried to do with these shirts, and you could do this in your own way, in any way. You don't have to do it, follow my ideas, what I've done. Is I've tried to make things that are non-confrontational. Because, see, forget about going out there, with some cardboard sign stapled to a stick with a, crayon phrase on it and protesting. That's nonsense. You look like you're just making a fool out of yourself, right? And like I say, the answer to the phrase, whatever you've scribbled on that stupid piece of cardboard, from my perspective, is then what? Whatever you're pushing. And so my idea is get a shirt, get a hoodie, something like that, and just wear one of these things, and it's non-confrontational. I mean, you're standing in a checkout line somewhere in a store, and you've got a T-shirt on that says everything you know is wrong. What is the person going to think about it? Or it says, you don't know what you don't know. That's a mind blower. And that's the idea. You've got to start blowing people's minds, to wake them up. And the idea of then what? Let them puzzle on that for a while. Right? Then what? Because, see, it's this pursuit of happiness, which I'm trying to get back to as we get into the theme of this show. You don't want to pursue happiness forever. You don't even want to pursue it for that long of a period of time at all. You just want to be happy. Why does this always happen to my coffee? There's just enough left in there where you think you have enough to fill it, but there's like too much that it wants to overflow. And coffee is meant to be sipped, not slugged down. And I just slugged down some coffee, and that's not a good thing. It just doesn't taste right. It's not the same. So don't pursue happiness. Be happy. And you say, well, that's easier said than done. Look at the coal. Look at the trucks. Coal trucks going to the electric plant, the coal-fired electric plant, because it's cold outside. It's the only way you can get heat at this, point in history. I asked a question to that Gigi, I don't think she's watching my show, but I put it in her comments on her second to last video. And I asked her what she thought about this, because in one of her videos, I watch long form videos, and one of her videos was about 2 hours long. And yesterday I watched it. It was like a Q&A thing, and it wasn't live, so I was watching it, after the fact. I don't know if it originally was a live Q&A or not. It may well have been. I mean, I'd love to have something like that if I had more viewers. Because I'm unscripted, so, whatever's in this bioelectric brain is, will come out, Ask me any question. So I said to her, well, what about this 12,000 year cycle of the sun, these near extinction event type of things that are looking more and more likely? Right. And, and I don't know if I mentioned the weakening magnetic field and, and all that sort of thing, uptick in volcanism. And for the same, in the same thing, I could well have, but I didn't, I don't believe. I could have said something along the lines of runaway inflation. The price of things right now is double, triple, and quadrupled. So life is difficult for the average person right now. But I think it's becoming difficult for the not so average person. That's why probably now more than ever, my book over here, where my thumb is, see my thumb? Gee, you're dumb. Then what? Which has that little budgetary page in there, right? Is something that, hey, that book costs $9.95 on Amazon.com. Get the print version of it. All right? It'll help you out, and it's like a primer for like this show. The same with Codex, the book I have back here. Like I say, I know you think I'm hawking my products, but whatever. Oh, by the way, so like things like Game Over and stuff are available on Caps too. You could get You Don't Know What You Don't Know on anything. So, ways of communicating with people without being in their face, without, It's an interesting concept, and that's why I do it. It's not for money. I haven't made money on it. And like I say, I don't make money on this. What I was going to do is I was going to create one of these fake, in my new set, I think I might have one of those YouTube things. I was thinking of making a comical version of one of those YouTube, like when people get 100,000 viewers, they have these things on their wall, these plaques. I was thinking trying to play off of something off of that, in a humorous way. We'll see. But don't pursue happiness. Just find happiness. Discover happiness. Be happy. Look around you and find the things there that are, in other words, happiness is out there. It's waiting to be discovered. And I know that might sound like a little new agey or, weird to some people. But no, it really is. If you live in the moment, don't live in the past. Don't worry about the future. Like I always say, if there's something that you have to deal with and it's not going to happen within, the immediate future, don't worry about it. Right? Just live your life. Live in the moment. I mean, be sensible. And, there are some things you need to prepare for or something or whatever. I'm not saying to ignore important things in life. But what I'm saying is don't get all anxious and crazy and worked up over something that is not an immediate threat to you or a problem or, whatever. Because you've wasted all that time in between. Because even if this certain thing that, you may have to face in a month or a week or whatever, transpires, it's going to come and go. And so let it be at that moment, that you deal with it. Why extend that moment of anxiety or your frustration or whatever, for weeks? So be happy today. Find happiness in the moment. Find happiness in life, in the simple things in life and the people around you. And if you are happy, and if you do find that peace, that sense of calm, within your life, you will draw happiness and others to you, and you will find and discover happiness, and happiness will grow. That's the secret. It's like, some people call that the law of attraction and stuff, but it's not the law of attraction, because this is people who are, are warping things like materialistic attraction. I want this, I want that, and, No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is that this is your consciousness. This is not your bioelectric brain. All right. And this is within the world, the realm of goodness. Okay. As opposed to the material world of, those who want to manipulate and control us. Because all material things are things that control us. For example, if you like, even in the Snow White, the wicked whatever witch type of person, they talk, she used to stand in front of the black mirror. And in old witch, and black magic, not black magic, but yeah, black magic mythology, it was always the black mirror, okay? Stay away from that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, right? And isn't it quite a coincidence that these black mirrors, see, when you look at your smartphone when it's off, or your tablet, or even your computer screen, right? You could say the television for that example, because society fell down, started to really get bad when the televisions became black mirrors. The original televisions were like green, had a greenish tint to them. I don't know if you go way back, or gray. They weren't the black mirror. So it's been like the HD TV computer age, and this technocracy that we live in now, that the black mirror, and it sees control, and suddenly everything around us seems to be turned upside down, And we're living in this like bizarro world. Now, if you're young enough that you grew up in this, you don't know any better because you're thinking, well, it is the way it is, right? A child born underneath some sort of, in some totalitarian state, or born in a household where, the roof leaked and every day they ate cornflakes with water in them or something, knows no better, right? And sees people yelling at one another and stuff like that. That is their normal, right? They know no better. And that may be a warped, sick, example, but the idea is we're living in the age. Look at all those trucks. All those trucks are fueling electric cars. It's coal trucks to fuel electric cars. And of course the power grid and heat our houses. So, that's another something that I don't hear many people talking about. But, look down when your smartphone's off. It's a black mirror. So it's, we're this beguiling, manipulation, black magic, that's, the controlling of people, the entrapment of people's souls, their soul trap. And this whole materialistic world surrounding it, an obsession, with things that are meaningless, right? Like I used to always tell people, the happiest you will ever be or have ever been had no materialistic thing was probably present. Like, look at that girl right now. She's barefoot, with just some, light frock. She could be, doing the same thing naked, but for the sake of the photo. And there's the beauty of nature, the beauty of woman from my perspective, and she's just happy and expressing it, right? There's no, you don't see a smartphone or something attached to her, or she's not wearing an iWatch or something, a Fitbit, right? There's no car, no nothing, no technology. Pure happiness. Be the same, as if you were, in love, and you were in a field making love with someone, or in bed making love with someone, naked, right? Moment, having a mutual orgasm. I'm sorry, if some people don't want to hear that kind of talk, but this is life. And think of that moment of climax, that moment of ecstasy. And there you are, naked, still embracing, next to this other person. You're happy, completely happy, totally happy, like you're like mind blown happy. And there need not be any technology there. That bed could, like I say, it could be a barn, it could be a field, it could be a bed inside a cabin that has no electricity and you have no smartphones or anything nearby. And that could be the happiest you will ever be in your life, that moment. It might be a moment you'll remember your entire life. I could recall many of very happy moments in my life along those lines, and other things, other times, other like kind of almost meditative times, sitting on a jetty overlooking an ocean. I lived in Malibu, sitting in a a hot tub watching the sunset, looking for the green, that green flash that supposedly occurs the moment, the sun sets. Or breathing fresh air, or in my own backyard back here, which I show often on this show, sitting on that chair by that door to my little workshop garden garage, the end of my property, sitting there soaking up the sun. The word media and politics stayed there. It shouldn't have. I have to move that to its proper spot. Excuse me. Things we have to do in order to produce a show ourselves without any help. So, and that, but do people really talk about that? And so to get back to where I was talking about politicians and stuff, and someone asking someone, then what? Or how will that make us happier? Mr. President, Ms. Press Secretary, Congresswoman, Congressman, Governor, right? My Lord and Lady, Princess, Prince, Queen, Dictator, right? Whatever. Pop star. This cult of personality people have around people who, for some reason, become like wealthy by chance or something. And suddenly they're like the cult of personality. Can I have your autograph? Like years ago, we used to do weird stuff. It was like go up to some random person on the street, and say, "Could I have your autograph, please?" And the guy goes, "I'm not, no, please, can I have your autograph?" Right? And you'd be surprised that they would give you their autograph. And you made their day. You probably made them happy for that moment. And they're walking away, like shaking their head, wondering, like, I wonder who they think I am or something. But, I always used to have fun. This is insane. But that's the thing. If it doesn't make you happy, if it isn't going to improve our quality of life, then what's the purpose behind it? Right? And so these materialistic things that are just fleeting, right? And they all break, including the black mare that's manipulating us. That's why they keep trying to sell us more and make them more and more powerful and more controlling and more necessary to our every waking moment, right? People sleep with their smartphones, right? It's really crazy. There's the screen, all the new cars have them. There's a black mare in the center of all the cars that link up with your other black mare device. I mean, it's sick. We're all just wired, Well, Wi-Fi wired, but we're still wired. We're still connected in the wrong way. You see? Because we've always been connected. We've always had a spiritual bond. We've always had a bond, of consciousness. And there's always been, whether you want to hear this or not, or, have a problem with it because you think it ushers into some kind of religious thought or something. But there's always been good and evil, And the idea is that what are you pursuing? Right? And it's like, it seems to me that it's the pursuit of materialistic gain. Instead of just saying, I'm not going to pursue anything. I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to discover happiness. I'm just going to allow happiness, right, to occur. in the moment. Live in the moment. Don't worry about the past. The past is gone. It's over. Hey, you messed up, you know? So what? You screwed up. You're human. You're in a bioelectric, you got a bioelectric brain in this android-like body. Okay? You know? It's like, what are you going to do? Big deal, right? You know? How'd you like to be like me? That's my upstairs. That's above my bed. That's the attic that's above, that floor there is above my bed. And so tomorrow it's supposed to rain, and I had to put all that stuff there because I have a leaky roof. Right? There's like a close-up version of it. And those things are to collect it, and then I have to, like, you know, take things out. But I wanted to show you that before I show you this other thing. All right? And the other thing is the idea that you're human. All right? And for some people, this might be weird. Okay? But this should be clear to you what it is. This is the inside of your android body. Okay? You can see on the left-hand side, you can see the spinal cord. See that? You know, in the center one, the real white area, that would be the spinal cord there as well. You're looking down. And then you see these various little things that are like organs. And then on the right-hand side, you can see like what looks to be maybe a kidney or something. And all these, you know, ducts and things and all kinds of weird stuff. Talk to a surgeon sometime. You know, it opens up human bodies all the time. If this gets you sick, you know, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to. But the point is, you've got a bioelectric brain and you've got this kind of android body, and your consciousness, your soul, whatever you want to call it, is occupying this space. Like, I'm not even one of those people that gets into that chakra thing, you know, because I think that's part of, like, you know, that's part of that magic nonsense, you know, like I'm not a Kabbalah type of person. You know, some people might take offense to that. But what I'm saying is that this mystical, all that kind of crazy stuff to me is hooey in a sense. I'm all open to the soul, the spirit, the law of one, right? Multiple, you know, dimensions, you know, higher dimensions, higher vibrations, you know, group consciousness, you know, the search for one to be part of, you know, the one consciousness, and that we're all part of all that stuff. I mean, I'm into some crazy stuff, right? But what I don't believe in is that this human body's got these things. I think that's a creation of those who want to control us. You know, you have to be careful about stuff like that. You know, because it's like it's a religion. But in a sense of, you know, it's not, then what? Get your chakras in order, you know, and just be a good person. Just pursue happiness, but be, you know, but man, pursue it pretty quickly. Don't let, you know, don't spend your whole life in pursuit of a thing, right? Be happy. And you'll say, well, it's easy for you to say. Oh, wait, I'm living at the poverty line, man. Okay? When I say I just managed, yesterday I finished buying enough stuff for my February. That means I got enough stuff in my food in my refrigerator and enough things like toilet paper and toothpaste and various things like that to get me through the month until my budget next month. Okay? No extras. Well, I did get this camera because for some reason Amazon Echo Dot was like pushing some $24.95 camera 1-day delivery that will tie into my Echo Dot system that I should be able to view on my app on my phone upstairs, so I could see if there's somebody at my front door when I'm upstairs in the afternoon, since I get up real early in the morning and usually go upstairs at in the afternoon and settle in. I go to sleep at 6:30 at night. Summertime a little bit later, but just because it's brighter out. But I kind of go to sleep usually. I try to when it's dark. I go to sleep when it's dark and I wake up when it's, before it's light. But, sometimes there's a knock on the door, you're waiting for a package to be delivered or something like that. But that's $24.95. Okay, not $249 or $2,495 on a credit card. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is that, no, I don't, happiness, I've got a leaky frickin' roof, right? I grow things in my porch, and, I'm a farmer, you have to deal with bugs. You got to deal with pests and stuff. I'm constantly, I have to, make sure, that's what it's like. It's like, it's an ongoing thing. But like I was trying to say is that you can't allow it to get to you and make you unhappy and frustrated and crazy. You have to make it as a part of your life. So part of my life is shoring up my house so that I don't get a mouse in the house or a chipmunk trying to get into my basement, right? Or bugs, or gnats, trying to, attack my plants in my little grow room off my porch, or I have to deal with a leaky roof, because I can't afford a $20,000 new roof. So I got to just go up there and just keep doing this kind of goofy stuff like this, putting down cat litter boxes and stuff and tape, and look at the spray that's drips down, that liquid rubber in a can and similar type of sealants and stuff, and hope that I could keep the water from coming down and drip, drip, drip into my bedroom, into some collection thing. But I'm laughing about it because, yes, you have to make the difficult things that are in your life, the struggles of human existence. This short lifespan that we have that may well have been shorted by this demiurge, these archons. There's people that soul trapped us here on this beautiful jewel of a planet in the cosmos. The earth may be, may truly be the Garden of Eden, the whole planet. And we should be happy we're here. And look at her, right? Look at her. And it's maybe as if, and I have, it's the same goes for, I'll get rid of that other picture. And I'm going to go to one of a regular on our show. In fact, he was on. We interviewed Trey not too long ago. I'm trying to find a picture. In fact, it was probably around February, early February. But here's a photo that he took. I'll put that over my head. In fact, I'll enlarge this so you can really kind of see the beauty of it all. And let's like look at the two of these things, together almost. And you understand what I'm trying to say. Of course. Then we have the sun up in the sky. But like, this exists. We're on this beautiful planet. And there are beautiful people. And there are beautiful things. And everyday life and live in present, you have to discover them. You have to be looking out for them. Right? You can't expect a politician, a musician, an actor, a newsreader, an announcer, some sort of celebrity cult of personality to somehow make you happy or do something that makes you happy. They're just going to create laws or make promises. And I say to them, then what? Right? Then what? Am I going to be happy? And the answer is no. That person's going to get elected, or that money's going to go to fund some sort of thing. See, when you live long enough and you think about it, throughout my entire life, people have been sending money to help children in Africa. And there have been these foundations that get literally hundreds of millions of dollars. The UN used to be, I forget what it used to be called. The League of Nations. Okay? That was around World War II. And then they changed it to the United Nations, and it was going to be this peaceful thing, and they got all these bureaucrats, and they built this ridiculous building in New York and stuff. All right? And and so the idea was everybody had an ambassador, there, and the world was going to get together and solve all the problems and basically have peace on earth and feed the hungry and all that stuff. It's like 60 years ago or more. Billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars have been probably channeled through there. Somewhere along the line, the UN ended up having Jeeps. I have a photo of them somewhere. I'm not going to search for it because the show's starting to run long. But, they've got, the UN has peacekeeping forces. That's as bad as the military or some military contractor calling a missile a peacekeeper. Do you see what I mean? See how warped it's become? There are children still starving and thirsty and dying of all kinds of diseases in Africa and South America and Southeast Asia and other places that we're not even aware of. Like India. India has over 1 billion some people, and and hundreds of millions are living in poverty. Their farmers there are committing suicide and stuff because it's outrageous. Big Pharma is charging people so much for drugs in some countries and things where we have a generic version of it or something is available and they won't give it. Look at we've had this disease going on here for the past over 2 years. Do you see what I mean? These powers that be, They love to make promises. They're all narcissistic sociopaths. Some of them are psychopaths. But it's like they're evil forces, And the forces, they're forces of evil that are out here, just like your consciousness is out here. This is a bioelectric brain, and I showed you, and we have this android body, okay? All right, it's a machine. It doesn't go against your religion, You could say it was created by God. Whatever you want to call God. You still have to deal with the concept of creation. Even if you're a scientist, you have to deal with the creation, right? Even if you believe in the Big Bang Theory, which I don't necessarily believe in, because it's a theory, right? It's like Einstein's E equals MC squared is the theory of relativity. right? Even Darwinism, right? It's a theory. These things aren't. But even if you believe in the Big Bang theory or so, that was still the moment of creation. Do you understand? So take out all your prejudices, all your arguments and all that kind of stuff, and just take it down into the pure concept of good versus evil, the pure concept of consciousness. And the idea of who are you? That's what my book Codex is about, right? Which deals with, this book here, Codex. That was my book just prior to this one. Every year I put out a book. There was like 10 books I put out in the past 10 years or so. Not sure if I'm going to do one this year or not. But that deals with what's called the hard problem of consciousness, where scientists themselves, they don't have an answer for that. They can't deal with who you are in the first person and how consciousness rises out of this bioelectric brain. They have all kinds of ideas and arguments, and papers have been written about it. But there's no so-called scientific consensus on it. And so the idea is that you're a conscious being and you have to find happiness. You have to be consciously happy. And that happiness is all around you to be discovered, right? And whenever you discover happiness in the slightest minuscule moment, this, thing, whatever, cherish it, right? Be aware of it. If possible, prolong it if it can be prolonged. But, or nurture it. You see? But you're never going to find that type of happiness, that pure feeling of exaltation, that pure feeling of, nirvana, whatever you want to call it, what that pure feeling of ecstasy, be goosebumps overwhelmed with beauty of nature, or bonding with another human being. Even a pet, even you and your pet sitting down on a mountainside overlooking rolling hills that don't have those darn white fans on them that they call windmills. Right? Looking over a beautiful landscape or seascape. I lived in New York in a penthouse one time. I've done many things. And so all I had to do is go upstairs, up like the stairs outside my door at the end of my hallway, and I could go and stand on the roof of my New York City apartment, which was like Midtown. At those times, the Twin Towers were still up. But I could look down towards the downtown, or I could look uptown. But I could look downtown and I'd see this cityscape at night. Sometimes I'd bring a friend. We'd be sitting there with, or standing there with 2 glasses of wine or a Heineken bottle in our hands or something, looking out over the cityscape, even the beauty of that, though, arguably, this whole concept of the world we've built, this technocracy, to me sometimes is distasteful, but still, I could remember at that time having this sense of, of the beauty of, of that cityscape, of what we have created, and the peace at that time, and the beauty of experiencing it and being with another person, et cetera, and looking up, being high enough that even in Manhattan, I could, with all the lights and stuff, my building was tall enough to still have the view of some stars and stuff. Or I can remember once a friend of mine took me out in a place in Oklahoma once, and took me for a drive when I went to visit one of my cross-country trips. This is a real long time ago. He goes, I'll take you someplace. I'm driving in his car, and I'm like, what? It was an old high school buddy of mine. I'm like, what, did he turn into an axe murderer? Because he was taking me out on some dirt road out in the middle of nowhere, but he was being really weird about it. Like, he wouldn't tell me where we were going, right? And I'm like, all right, okay. So he stops the car, turns off the headlight. It's black as black. He's got a little pen light flashlight. He says, come here. So I follow him down this like little path to this area where there's like outcropping of some rocks, right? He goes, have a seat here. And we had, at the time, you could, we had like a 6-pack with us or something, but we each had a beer. He goes, oh, here. We opened up a beer. We're sitting on the rock. I'm going, okay, so what's up? He goes, look up. And I looked up, and there was, billions and billions of stars. He took me out of the town to a spot that he had discovered, because he was always into that stuff. I've always been into, space and science and, astronomy. And it was just this thing, and it was just stars. And he just leaned back on those rocks, took a sip out of the beer. I didn't even care if I had a beer. And it was like, wow, this is the planet we live on. This is the universe that we're a part of. Look at that. It was just, really, awe-inspiring. And it's one of those moments, the beauty of nature, and a moment that I could still recall. And I'm relating that to you. Something we missed. How many people really, do they see the stars at all anymore? Except people who live out in those certain areas, which there are so few, everyone, So what I'm trying to say is that whether it's a cityscape or whether it's out there and looking into the Milky Way galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy, or whether you're looking out over the sunset, sunrise, whether you're that girl, just got some kind of news or is just so happy and just running barefoot down a dirt road on a sunrise or sunset, whatever. Whether it's you and your dog going for a walk and, some hiking trail or something. Whatever it is. Or whether it's some simple thing in your house, like listening to a song you forgot about and it comes on the radio, or asking your Echo Dot, using your technology for something good and saying, hey, voice assistant, could you play such and such? And then getting into it and letting that take you back. Remembering something, talking with a friend, doing whatever, It doesn't have to be something so, exalting as, as I said before, the concept of, climaxing. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, that's the ideal. All right, I guess. But there's more. Life is life, and that's a physical. There are physical things. We have these 5 senses, but there are some things that somehow even transcend. That even though our senses are involved in the process, the experience of happiness, pure happiness, transcends this bioelectric brain, this android, whatever, created machine body. Forget about transhumanism and all that crap. That's a fool's errand. I'm against it. It's a waste of time. Right. So seek happiness, right? And yeah, you can pursue happiness like life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness, but just don't spend your whole life in pursuit of something. Find it. If you find yourself pursuing, and if you're searching, that's why I talk about these chakras and all this other stuff. You know, there's some people that they just try everything that's out there. Well, I tried this meditation. I tried new Buddhism. You know, when I was younger, you know, yeah, I told a story once. I'm running out of time, so I don't have enough time to retell that story. And I never really cataloged my videos. I have like 600 videos, and I never properly cataloged them. And I don't have the time to do it. It would take me the rest of my life. But I told this story about some girl knocked on my door with a French accent when I lived in Beverly Hills for a short period of time when I first went out to L.A. And she said, hey, you want to go somewhere with me and my roommate? And these two beautiful girls with these very strong French accents. You know, I just moved into this place. And it's like, it was an apartment complex, small place. And so I got in a car with them, and they took me up to the Hollywood Hills, and I went in. There were all these beautiful people in this beautiful Hollywood, mansion overlooking, L.A. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. It was like I was going to some party, Hollywood party or something. And there were familiar faces there, so there were actors and stuff like that. But what it turned out to be, they were new Buddhists that they call New Buddhism, which is different than just Buddhism. And that's the whole thing. That's where I first learned about the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. You know, that thing, which would bring you, which you chant like in the morning and in the afternoon, and it's like the people who get into the Om, all that kind of stuff. So like people pursue all these things, and they pursue the Buddhism, they pursue this Kabbalah, they pursue all sorts of new age things. They're into all kinds of things. And when I was younger, like I said, I like dabbled in all that kind of stuff. I was open. I wanted to learn and take in as much as I can. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I learned and what I'm trying to share with you, like I'm saying, what I'm trying to do is service to others instead of service to self, is to tell you, share my experience and my conclusions that I've had, is that while all those things are fine and dandy, and many people, they are life altering and wonderful and beautiful and bring them happiness and joy and fulfillment, that basic happiness can be found in your own house, in your backyard. You see? Every day, in a moment in time. And the idea is that your consciousness, the first person you, no one has control over you, that consciousness, right? And your destiny is up to you. It's not predetermined, all right? I mean, we could get into a discussion about, time and cycles of life, and that maybe when you look at timelines and things like that, there's a certain sense of predetermination based on so many possible outcomes of this, that, the other. But that's for another show. But generally speaking, you're the master of your own destiny, and you can find happiness and you can be happiness no matter where you are. And some of the poorest people under the worst conditions can find a moment of happiness. And at the very least, find that moment of happiness and cherish it. And don't spend all of your time in negative isms, right? And allow negative people to bring you down and make you unhappy, frustrated, filled with anxiety, right? Like these people who want revenge or want to get even, right? And all that stuff. It's all counterproductive. Politics is meaningless. That's why, like up here, resist media and politics. Okay? Resist it. Right? They're meaningless things. They're just these things, creations of megalomaniacs, It's their way of making, achieving money and power, right? Forget that. Find happiness. It's all around you. You just got to open yourself to it. Be open to happiness. Be open to being happiness. To being happy. You can do it. And you're in control of your destiny in your life. And it has nothing to do with material things. It has nothing to do with anything. Like I said, I found a house. My taxes, mortgage, and insurance are $200 a month. I say this all the time. All right? And I have that beautiful, yard there. And I grow my own food and stuff. And I could sit in the sun and get my vitamin D and be happy and feed the birds and hear them chirping and breathe in fresh air. And it's happiness. Happiness. So I hope you gleaned something from that, that it's possible. That is hopeless and crazy and insane things seem to be. And on a daily basis, if you consume the news and social media, it just looks worse and worse, and it just drives you up a wall. And these black mirrors are just totally, it's just black magic, evil, right? Archons trying to trap your soul here, to put it lightly. They can't control you. You have to, give yourself up to the evil. Okay? They can't just take you over. It's, there's no, demonic possession. It doesn't happen if you don't allow it. Okay? I don't know, I hate to bring that kind of weird thing up, but I mean, just be happy and know that you are happy and you are in control of the destiny of your life, and find happiness, live happy, be happy, and focus on happiness and calm and peace and love. That 4-letter word that somehow is missing from our vernacular these days. Love. All right? Pursue love and happiness. So, I guess I'll leave it there.
Good morning.
And don't forget to visit my website, ROCKFLUX, because there's links to my books and my, where you can get those shirts and hoodies and things like caps and things like that, and great solar stuff. And I know it sounds like I'm selling something here, but I'm not. It's just, these are things for you. And yes, I just got this email today. Apparently Valentine's Day is Monday, I believe. And there's 20% off those shirts and hoodies and caps and stuff. So if anything, I got through to you about any of that stuff, yeah, you might want to do that. Otherwise, I'll talk to you tomorrow or soon. Cheers. Take care.